The iron spinning top he kept for himself. A dried root shaped like a dragon was tossed to the ground beside Alerio. As the young boy watched, a heel pulverized the dragon into shredded mulch.
"Do better tomorrow. I'd like a new knife,"
another of the boys said as he bent down. He ended the instructions with a hard punch to the center of his victim's chest. It was then Alerio cried out in frustration. The physical pain was temporary, while the mental anguish burned deeply into his mind. Plus, he knew tomorrow would bring more abuse from the older boys. Chapter 2. The Sisera's Farm. He left the small village behind and raced down the path towards his home. The trees surrounding the small villa came into view, and the dread faded. Faded until he entered the kitchen and met his mother. In a panic, she asked,
"What happened to your face?"
A cloth was dipped in a bowl of water and applied to his cheek. It came away stained with dirt and blood. His mother studied the bruise.
"Was it those boys again?"
she asked as she dabbed at his cheek. Then she added,
"I'll have your father speak to their fathers." No, I fell,"
he lied. The thought of his father being involved in the dispute was unbearable. Alerio imagined it would make the assaults worse, and he'd rather face the boys alone than have his father interfere. Over the last year, his father had tried to teach him self-defense, but his tendons were too immature to apply wrestling holds, his arms too thin and undersized for boxing, so after those attempts, his father gave up on teaching him to fight. The afternoon was filled with chores, and Alerio had already put the fight behind him. At dinner, he avoided the eyes of his parents and his two older sisters. They ate, and his father talked about planting and the need to rotate fields. Alerio had stopped listening when his sisters interrupted to comment on the scrapes and scabs on his face. His father didn't comment. He simply looked long and hard at the injuries. For the remainder of the meal, Alerio feared that his father would become involved. After dinner, retired Alerio Sisera motioned for Alerio to follow. He guided the boy through the courtyard, around the grain separation racks, and into a storage shed. 3 walls of the shed held farming tools. On the 4th hung weapons. Large, heavy infantry shields and smaller shields used by skirmishers occupied the center and lower part of the wall. Shelves above and beside the shields were filled with javelins, bows, and swords. The senior Sisera reached under the shields and moved a barrel filled with arrows. From the recess, he pulled out a wooden sword. He swung it effortlessly a few times before carrying it outside. Alerio followed. They walked around to the rear of the shed, and Alerio's chest swelled with pride at the farm. What once had been a rocky, barren track was now a field of grain. Stalks swayed in the evening breeze and appeared golden in the light of the setting sun. Between the rock wall at the edge of the field and the shed, a tree trunk had been planted. It stood taller than the boy and was twice his thickness. Stripped of its bark, the post appeared to glow golden in the fading light. Alerio watched as the retired Alerio laid the wooden sword against the shed, struck flint, and lit a lantern. He hung the lantern from the roof's overhang before picking up the sword.
"This is a recruit training gladius,"
his father stated as he walked to the tree trunk gripping the sword in one hand.
"You strike the post from the side twice, before swinging the sword to the opposite side and striking it backhandedly. Twice and once, then repeat."
He demonstrated the 2 slashes and 1 backhanded strike before handing the sword to Alerio. The tip of the wooden sword drooped towards the ground. Alerio had played with his father's gladius when he was younger. It had taken 2 hands to hold the short sword, yet he had been able to lift it. The wooden sword was almost twice the weight of the metal weapon.
"It's heavy, so when you transition to a real..."